By using the directory traversal vulnerability we found earlier, and a bit of creative thinking, we should be able to do this. Remember that when a PHP-enabled website calls a file with PHP tags, the PHP code within will be executed. However, how can we control the contents of a file on the web server file system? The database table files from earlier contain data that we control. Let's try to update the administrator's account information so it will contain PHP code inside. I'll take the following PHP code. Which will base64 decode the get parameter cmd and will then execute it. And once I've got this code in order, I will try to inject it somehow into the database. After digging around for a bit, we found that the users have specific fields which can be updated. For example, the URL. And specifically, the URL field did not input data very well. So we ended up putting a bit of PHP code right here and updating the database with this code. So as of now, the binary nuke_authors myd file should contain some PHP code inside. Let's try to call this PHP code and execute a simple command. Remember that our PHP code will decode a base64 string, which means that we need to encode our command before we send it. So let's quickly do that. So this piece of code will take the following command, base64 encode it, and print it to screen. So let's quickly run this. So this is the base64 encoded command that we want to send. Let's build our URL string in order to access this file. And I'll paste the whole URL in. And let's take a look at this URL. Notice that we're accessing once again the contaminated myd file, which contains our injected PHP code. To this file, we are passing a cmd parameter right here, which contains our base64 encoded command. So let's try running this and see what happens. Awesome, look at that. We have got basic code execution on our PHP server. Now, assuming that Windows runs PHP as system, rudimentary as this is, we have got administrative code execution on our victim web server. So let's refine this and get a proper interactive shell on the victim web server.